Hey there, and welcome to today's lesson in Benchmark 1 on the Continental Drift Theory. So, back in the entry event video, we read an article called Pseudoscience. And I want you to recall that at one point in time, Alfred Wegener's evidence was not good enough for his fellow geologists to buy into his theory of continental drift. I want you to think during this lesson on all of Wegener's evidence. What was it that he was missing? What was the one piece of evidence that he didn't have that made all of his cohorts in science and in geology reject his theory? So what we're going to do today is we're going to follow through the slides that I would have used in class. I'm going to show you some pages that you can read out of the book. And I've altered this lesson just a little bit to make it a little easier to do at home. So pay no attention to the dates. We're not going to do everything in this slideshow. If you do want to look at these slides, though, they are linked in the project briefcase. So one of my favorite Mr. Power videos in earth science is the video called Wegener the Man. So if you want to take a minute right now, pause this video and watch that on YouTube. Just type in Mr. Power Wegener the Man and you will understand after just watching that Mr. Power video why people didn't believe him and his theory. All right, so we don't have access to our books. Excuse me. But I have linked some pages from the book as PDFs for us to look at. And so you can find these pages linked in today's agenda. I'm going to bring them up right now. All right. I am not going to read these pages to you out loud. Right now, it's your responsibility before you do this activity today to read this section. It's called Drifting Continents. And as you read through it, and we'll use this text again later in the week. My computer is being kind of slow to load the pages. We'll wait for it. Okay, you can read all about Alfred Wegener's theory of continental drift. Now, any good scientist is going to have evidence. And I really like figure 12 because it puts all three pieces of Alfred Wegener's evidence into one easy to read graphic. He had evidence of landforms lining up. He had evidence of fossils being spread across continents. And he had evidence of climate, which we'll read about in these paragraphs. Evidence from landforms, fossils, and climate. And then there's a good paragraph about why scientists rejected his theory. Okay, so your job is to read through those pages. When you're done, come back and we'll continue through the slides together. Okay, so I'm combining two lessons in one. This would be typically where I would end lesson 1. We are not going to do the jigsaw activity because that would be a collaboration activity, but we were just going to share out what we read after reading and taking notes on that evidence. Here's another great Mr. Power video to talk about Pangea. So if you'd like, you can watch Pangea's moving. I'm going to go ahead and move along to the next part of this lesson. Okay, so you've got the text and you've got some information for this journal. All right, to wrap up this benchmark 1, lesson 1, you are going to go into Echo and write 3 to 5 sentences why, despite having 3 pieces of evidence, scientists rejected Wegener's theory of continental drift. You are going to find a lot of information in those Mr. Power videos. So if you haven't watched Wegener the Man and Pangea's Moving, those are awesome. If you haven't yet got a chance to read the text pages that I linked, go ahead. Here's where you're going to turn in the Benchmark 1, Lesson 1 journal. So we've got Benchmark 1, Wegener's Drifting Continents. You're going to look for Benchmark 1, Lesson 1 wrap-up journal. And let's take a little look at that. Okay, so there you go. After reading the text provided, I need 3 to 5 sentences. What were the 3 pieces of evidence that Alfred Wegener had? And why didn't scientists buy into his theory? Remember, Alfred Wegener's theory was made fun of at the time. It was called pseudoscience. And we read that in the entry event the other day. All right, so I will be continuing along in these slides. Next time we meet, we are going to do a little puzzle with continental drift and see if we can mimic Alfred Wegener's initial discovery that the continents seem to fit together. So until then, we will see you later.